There I am.
Where am I? I am on this one.
Oh,
there
you
I
go.
am too. Cool.
That's much better.
Yeah. We're super high tech around here.
Excellent. No, as long as you record it and
Yeah, we can always it's like making music nowadays. You can just edit everything in post.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Missed that lineup. Give me 2 seconds with the computer.
Just make me sound like Katy Perry or something.
Oh yeah,
That'd be,
I'll auto-tune the hell out of this shit.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, welcome back to the Trice Life podcast. Today, I've got Brennan from the Ultimate Power Duo, as well as 25 other projects he has on the go.
That's about right. Actually,
that right?
That's pretty accurate. Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about mainly the Ultimate Power Duo comic book album crossover.
Sure.
Is that
Let's
right way
put
to
it
call
that
it?
way. Yeah.
And we'll dive into the history of Ultimate Power Duo and how that came to be, and just we're going forward from here. So let's start. Let's start even basic. Where did Ultimate Power Duo start?
I like how you worded that with the let's start basic, because the story of how Ultimate Power Duo came to be is in itself a bit of a convoluted story.
Because when I moved, I'm from Ontario, so when I moved here, Ultimate Power Duo was already a big deal.
Oh, well thank you.
Yeah,
I never thought we were a big deal. We were trying.
Yeah.
We're a big deal in the making, hopefully. So
it was a thing where, like, in the local scene, there wasn't a lot of acts kind of thing, but if you got to play with Ultimate Power Duo or something, you were doing pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you. No, Ultimate Power Duo came from a band originally back in the 90s, many moons
90s.
ago. Myself and Mike Semchuk, we were best friends in high school, want to start a band. We started this group called Bent, and we got a few friends together. So Scott Pilling, he joined, he got Ruben, we found Derek, became a band. And then through, we did a couple really great albums and things. And then this way life happens. Our friend Mike passed away. He had cancer.
Oh, shit.
And after that was sort of the end of the group. We still did some shows and kept it going, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And then flash forward a few years later, and we all find ourselves back in Saskatoon after all going through our own big changes in life circumstances and things.
You'd moved away as well?
No, I stayed in Saskatoon, but I know Scott went to like Amsterdam or something and did work out there for a year.
Why not?
My wife had passed away, so that was a new thing for me. I was like a young, mid-20s as a widower. Derek was busy with his business. Ruben had left town. He was on, I think, his mission for a couple of years. Like we'd all kind of like just left. We're all in different spaces, right? Yeah. And we all happened to be back in Saskatoon around the same time, and we thought the four of us would get back together and start jamming again, right? So like, how fun would that be?
Yeah.
So we started jamming. We thought, it's different now as a 4-piece, but this is cool. We should start to make some more music. So we called ourselves Captain Zero, and
I like that.
Went to the studio, started a demo. We played a couple cool shows. We thought, things are going pretty well.
Yeah.
And then around this time, Ruben says, "Hey guys, I got into nursing." Great. That's awesome. Well done. He goes, it's the school's in Edmonton. Oh, cool. When do you leave? Like 3 weeks. I was like, oh,
wow.
And so we talked about keeping that band going. But in the meantime, when we were working on the demo, there was,
oh yeah, man. I'm excited. Yeah, that's fine.
There was a band wars happening at Riley's.
Riley's.
So this was when Riley's actually had probably one of the best sound systems in town. Like they amped their game to make it a really great live room. And they had this
Darcy
band.
Beck doing sound.
Yep. This is probably about that time. Yep. And we hadn't done a band wars in forever, right? Mm-hmm. And Scott's like, dude, there's this band wars. We should enter. And so we tossed the idea back and forth, right? Because I think it was 20 minutes. You got 4 free beer. Like
plug into whatever amps on stage.
Pretty much.
Figure it out.
And so our plan was Scott and I were going to show up as a 2-piece, make up 4 songs in the spot, as being like, whatever, band wars, like our own little joke to ourselves kind of thing, right? So we signed up for the band wars. It was on a Thursday. Monday night, we were rehearsing and jamming to Scott and I, and we thought, maybe, like I said, maybe we should write 4 songs. Yeah. Like just have something prepared. And we did, one of them being Optimus Prime, which other ones? Centrifugal Force, like actually songs that we still play to this day,
so
right?
Like Cone of Silence, is Cone of Silence in there at all?
Not yet.
Not yet?
But
okay.
that'll come. Yeah. And so that was on a Monday. We wrote 4 songs. The show's on Thursday. Wednesday, I'm leaving Earl's Lounge. And as I'm leaving, I see Jordan Cook, blues
Oh,
rock guitar
that guy.
extraordinary. Have you
Yeah.
heard of Jordan Cook?
He's a little unknown guy.
Yeah, I think he opened for The Who, and
Pearl Jam,
Black Sabbath,
yeah,
whatever, no big deal.
local bands.
Yeah, those guys. And I was leaving, and I run to Jordan. I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, good. Started chatting a little bit. And I said, are you busy tomorrow? He goes, no, why? I said, do you want to play drums with Scott and I for a band of ours at Riley's? And there's like a pause. He's like, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? I thought I would have to do a harder sale.
Yeah.
And he says, when are we rehearsing? I said, on the way to the show. Like, let's just meet there. We'll pick you up. So we went to the jam space, I think at 5. We rehearsed until 5:30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Went to the Band Wars, did the show. Black on black. We wanted to do like the cool black sunglasses, which I discovered after one song. I could not see anything. That was
right. And they're not going to stay on for very long, probably.
No,
after.
not at all.
Yeah.
And we went out, we rocked out these 4 songs. At the end, we made a bunch of noise and hit stuff. And Jordan Cook was running around the drum kit, like playing on the stands and things. And that was our first show.
Crazy, man.
And basically, Scott and I sort of made this pact, like if you're in, I'm in.
Yeah.
And we've had some breaks in between, but we're in, so we're still
insane.
doing it. And people always say, well, but you always play as a 3-piece, like, right?
Yeah, the name is very misleading. Yeah.
It causes what I like to say, like, cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Causes some friction in people's minds. We can say we're like the world's biggest duo.
Nice.
Which, right?
Nice, yeah.
But our original band name was the Ultimate Power Duo Combo with special guest keyboard player from Nazareth. And that's what we put on the application. And when they printed off the tickets, it said Ultimate Power Duo Combo. I'm like, wow, combo.
Yeah.
So we scrapped the combo, and that's basically where
Just like that, eh?
Ultimate Power Duo.
That's insane,
That's
man.
what's born. So.
I will say that it's very misleading. I just found out the other day that the Righteous Brothers weren't actually the brothers. And I feel like that's very misleading.
Who knew? Ben Folds 5, there's 3 of them. All these things.
We could go on and on.
It could become tonight's podcast. Bands with
weird
misleading
wrong
numbers.
names.
Yeah. And I mean, originally we used to play as a 3-piece, and we just get a different drummer all the time.
Right. And I remember that was the thing. I remember that was like I don't want to call it a shtick, but that was
kind of
what you did.
Yeah.
And I think it was a cool way of just bringing that really almost nervous energy to a show, because you never knew really how it was going to turn out, kind of thing. Like, did you guys like find the drummer like at the gig, like find another band's drummer, like, hey, do you want to play with us? Or was there at least some, practice?
We would contact, we would find someone. We'd jam once usually, maybe twice if they were lucky, but we try to keep it to one jam. And we were kind of not mean, but we would definitely mess with our drummers' heads a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Like doing things. Okay, so how does this song go? Because we didn't have many albums or demos out yet.
Yeah.
And and then go faster. Got it? Ready? And I'd count off 1, 2, 3, 4, and we just go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, for this one, can you do a lot of like, psh, 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 psh. Can you do that in this one? Okay, cool, go. We had some drummers too that were just like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, that's actually awesome.
Perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just
picture yourself being Animal from Muppets.
Yeah,
go.
Write it out. You know, and if you're not sure what to do, do it louder. You know, I mean, and it worked out really well. And then we started playing with Amber, and it was a really good fit. And then, she became our full-time drummer for a decade or so. Long time. I just realized.
Still now, or
I just realized, like 2001. That was a long time ago.
Riley's was still open in 2001. Yeah. It's kind of an era, man, when that place closed.
Yeah. So there we go. So
then at what point did Ultimate Power Duo start working more towards this comic book, this more bringing in other elements, other story elements together? Is that just recently, or is that something you've always wanted to do?
There is an interview somewhere, and someone has on tape that we're on, like for Telecable 10 or something, or Shaw Cable, back in like 2003 or something, that we say we had this idea to do this concept record. Watch out, it's coming.
Yeah.
And so that was something we always had an idea for, and the comic idea kind of came later, but this idea was percolating for years.
Right.
So back in the Bent days, we had a song called Joe Goes to Space.
Right.
And about a guy named Joe steals a spaceship, goes to space. I'm not coming home, see ya. It's our version of Major Tom.
Okay.
And that other guy who ripped off Major Tom.
Yeah.
4, 3, that guy who basically said, it's inspired by.
Sure.
And Ruben, our singer, had made an idea that he had an idea for other songs with Space Joe in them, like continuing the story.
Yeah.
So when we were doing some writing, we wrote the prequel to our song Joe Goes to Space.
Okay.
And we'd play them together. Okay. So we would have or was it after? Wait, what's the song about?
Uh-oh, he's on the spot now.
I'm terrible at memorizing my own lyrics. So no, I think it was the prequel. It was, and then leading up to Joe Goes to Space, we play them together, and so we had this little sequel, right?
Yeah.
And then as we kept talking, I'm like, this could be like a concept record. So we're big fans of concept records, right? So the Who, the
Pink
Kinks,
Floyd, The Wall,
Pink Floyd,
stuff,
I still like Quadrophenia better than Tommy.
Oh.
So I'm throwing that out there, Who fans. That's controversial, but I love that record.
We just lost like 13 listeners.
I think, like, who's this guy? I have them both on vinyl. That must count for something.
That counts for something. Yeah.
It does. I think so.
Totally redeems himself.
Yeah. And so we had this idea, like, let's do this whole like Joe Goes to Space concept record.
Okay.
And I also had in my comic collection, one of my favorite Batman comics is actually a Batman comic that comes with a record. So it's a full-size record, like the full-size 33rd and a third, right? And it's like a gate-folding album. You open it up, but inside is a book that's the same size as this full-size record.
Whoa.
And as you put side A on, you hear the people acting out the scenes of this Batman comic.
That is so cool.
So, like one day it's Bruce Wayne, and then you hear the characters in the sound effects, and the art was so good. It looked like a Neil Adams late 60s kind of thing, which is like my Batman.
I was looking at, that was my rabbit hole question next was kind of what era of Batman comics was kind of most influential to you?
That would be it.
Definitely
So, like Neil Adams and that style of art, like he's the one, the Batman a lot of people recognize is based on those, right?
Okay.
And as a kid, I used to love to buy the Batman digests and things, not realizing those are reprints from the late 60s and things. I didn't know. To me, they're modern, right? Yeah. So I think that's really, that's the style that really that is in my mind, right?
Nice.
That and the animated series, just because it was so good.
And like Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, that is my favorite. That's probably still my favorite Batman movie.
Yeah, there's one of the first podcasts I did with here was with a buddy Wade, who is a Superman guy. So we got kind of talking about that, and I mentioned that it's too bad they haven't done a good Superman movie recently. The stories are written for you. They're in the comic books. Like you don't need to stray away too far. And I've always thought if they could do some sort of live action Mask of the Phantasm, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Oh.
Until Zack Snyder got his hands on it and just ruined it, and then
You know what though? I'm going to back him up a little bit here. Because one, The Watchmen was mind blowing.
That's fair.
Now keep in mind, yes, they had to take
so
some.
was 300,
right. Yeah. And I don't know, Zack Snyder personally, but it seemed like DC suddenly said, okay, Marvel has established this universe over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
We have to catch up.
Yeah.
So you have one movie, maybe two, to do what Marvel has been doing in the last 20 movies. Go.
Oh yeah, it's definitely yeah. So I shouldn't shit on him too much because obviously he's one man with probably a committee of like 50 people being like, do this, do this, do this, do this.
Right. Like even Batman v Superman, he wanted to do The Dark Knight Returns. That was the movie he wanted to do, and they said, well, no, you need to do this instead. So he tried to do his best version of that movie within the confines of not being allowed to do it. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So I defend DC. I'm a DC apologist, I think, sometimes.
I watched Batman versus Superman on an airplane going to not Comic-Con, the NAMM show. Oh, and nice. So it was like on a screen, smaller than your phone, and it wasn't that bad. Yeah, there's some weird stuff. Jesse Eisenberg is whatever. Yeah. Take some odd choices.
It's not great, but there's some different choices.
There's things they could have did, they did do some stuff good.
Right.
He doesn't deserve all the shit it's getting.
No, and like the first Bryan Singer Superman, are we allowed to still say Bryan Singer in this day and age?
I think so.
Okay, cool. It was okay from what I remember. Like it wasn't groundbreaking.
You mean Superman Returns?
Whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
with Kevin Spacey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if I rewatched it, I might not like it as much, but at the time, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I see. I'm not that insulted, but I haven't watched it since. I have no desire to go back to it.
I watched it about a year ago, and the only problem I had with it was the idea that he's going to build land with this kryptonite, but when you see it come up, it looks terrible. Who the hell's going to live here? Like, if it was some sort of weird thing where it brought it into like a paradise and it was really green and lush and like, oh, okay, I see what he's trying to do. But like, I don't know, it may just like, it's a nitpick thing. But,
Hire the right staff.
Yeah.
They can work. Just call it some kind of Art Nouveau.
Oh, okay.
Right? Put some cool chairs on it. I'm
Easy
sure
enough, right?
I'm sure it'll work out. But this Batman record, I loved it. I still have it in my collection, and even in interviews I've done before when people are like, what's one of your all-time favorite comics? I always go back to this one. So in my mind, I said, hey, let's do a concept record, but let's do a comic with it. And what I wanted to do was that Batman record with the comic inside.
Right.
So knowing it'd have to be a smaller comic. So Scott looked into it. In this day and age, to print that record would have been like $120 cost per record to do.
Per record.
With the comic and everything, right? I mean, just because of they don't mass produce it like that anymore.
Fair enough.
So to find a company who would do it, it was too cost prohibitive. So then it was like, well, let's just do a small comic, and the idea went back and forth, and then eventually it said we had the idea of having every song on the album having its own 2 to 5 page comic book story to go with it.
Right.
And that's what we did. So we made it.
So the name of the comic book?
Ultimate Power Duo presents The Adventures of Space Joe Ad Astra.
And that's where I have to ask you, what does Ad Astra mean? Because I know there's that movie coming out with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, To the Stars. It's Latin for To the Stars.
Okay.
Originally, it was Ultimate Power Duo presents The Adventures of Space Joe Ad Astra To the Stars. But we thought that was too long, so we took off 4 words. Cool. I love my long song titles, if you couldn't tell. Yeah, it was funny. But there was another comic I came across too, and I even tried to look it up before I came, called Ad Astra, that I saw somewhere in a used book bin somewhere.
Okay.
And I can't find it again, but I remember seeing it, and I made a joke. But again, we changed our title enough that I'm sure this company isn't going to worry about it, right? And so when we saw the Brad Pitt movie, like, can we sue? Probably not, but I'd like to.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, is this like a spinoff, or is Space Joe Brad Pitt?
No, but maybe we should try that for the next one.
Yeah.
I was even thinking of getting a picture of the movie poster and seeing if we could superimpose our art over top of Brad Pitt's face.
Yeah.
Or have like me and Scott on it or something.
There's no such thing as bad publicity. So worst case scenario, they'll sue you, but then your name will be in the news anyway.
Perfect.
So it's a win-win.
We should get on that before it comes out. Yeah.
So let's go back to your mentioning about there's different artists doing this. So how did that come about? Did you have like a wish list or a top 5 you wanted to have, or did you just put out like a feeler, like who wants to draw?
We actually had no idea how to find artists for the comic. There are artists that we know locally from Saskatoon, like we love Elaine Will and Donnie Sparrow. And so right away we thought, okay, well, let's contact the ones we know in Saskatoon. How easy is that?
Right.
But we were hoping to get a different artist for each story, or up to 3 stories.
Right.
Because I love jam comics too. And when Scott started to do some research, he's like, I don't know how do you find artists?
Right.
So he just went to the Joel Shuster award page, and who won comic book awards last year? All right. And just started cold emailing. I want to say cold call, but cold emailing people. We wanted to do it as like Canadian, like Western Canada first, Canada, and then international if we had to.
Because I guess they don't have to be here to do it. You can send them the story ideas and they can just run with it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And we did a good job of getting a lot of artists who are still based in Western Canada. And we just went down the list and who do we like? And Scott would send me names and I'd go research them. Like, oh, I love this guy's art. And we just sent out emails saying, this is what we're doing. Here's our page rate. What can you do for us?
Yeah.
And then people just sign up and say, awesome, here are the stories I'd like to do. And it went from there. So
you had a general overarching story in mind, and then you allowed the artist to do their own thing? Or did you have the script, let's call it, written out?
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
There was different versions of what could be done.
Okay.
So as the lyricist, I had the whole idea in my head as far as what the story is going to happen.
You have an idea where it's going to go, right?
Right. And so then when an artist would sign up for the project, they would get notes on, here's how I imagine it looking like. This is the universe it's in. This is what each character looks like. Here's what the uniform should look like. Here's the vibe of the whole story. And then I would send them the lyrics to the song as well as the synopsis for the song.
Okay.
So they knew what it was about. And then from there, they could do what they wanted. So some of the artists just read it and said, awesome. And they just went, comic, here it is. Some just took what we wrote and turned it into like an interpretation, almost like a music video kind of thing.
Okay,
cool. Some people said, could you please send me like an actual script? So then some of them went in and did page 1, panel 1, right?
Yeah.
Some sent us just the pictures. and then we had to get them lettered,
Oh.
which I wasn't. And I mean, I've been buying comics since I was 3, right?
Right.
So I should have known. I just assumed a lot of independent artists are used to doing it all on their own, like punk rock, right?
Yeah, DIY.
Do it all yourself.
Yeah.
And the very first artist that we got was Riley Rossmo, who is now doing Batman and like
Crazy.
huge projects.
Wow.
And he had just gotten some work with Image and was like really building a name for himself. And he was the first one who actually got his work in. We're like, oh, he actually did it. Like, we're so excited because, you know,
They could say yes, but are they actually going to do it?
right.
Yeah.
And so he actually got his work in first, and there was no lettering on it. And so I'm like, oh, Riley, I love the work. Great. When is the version coming with the letters? And basically, he didn't say this, but when I read the email response, it was basically, I don't do lettering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh,
do you know who I am?
sorry, sir.
Yeah.
But that was a good learning experience. And then like there's even a couple of stories in the book that I couldn't find a letterer for, and we wanted to get done. And so I went in and taught myself how to do it on Photoshop and things. And so there's a couple.
So the lettering, is that done by hand then?
Different styles. I contacted some artists I know, and I said, "How do you do it?" And they said, "Well, if you get like a Photoshop or some kind of program, you can take their work and overlay it." And
Gotcha.
So I just did it that way. I felt pretty proud of myself when I did it, and then when it got printed, I'm like, "How come the colors don't match up?" Because I had these cool opaque. See, I thought I was being really clever. I had these cool like opaque panel boxes.
Yeah.
So you could still see the art underneath.
Oh,
But when it printed,
blur the words almost.
yeah, but it was way darker when it printed, and I didn't understand why, because it was really clear. And then a friend of mine's like, well, you know, when you convert it from Photoshop to this other file, sometimes the colors get corrupted. I was like,
Jesus.
I don't know. I did it during lunchtime at work. Like, do you know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, we used to do YouTube videos when we first started doing this stuff, and that was the biggest thing. Was just doing the editing was just it was tough. And so I couldn't imagine like doing the art stuff too. I mean, there'd be so many little variables. I imagine like if you use this color red in that program, but he used this color red in that program, are they going to match? And
yeah, exactly. So, but I mean,
it's quite the undertaking.
But yeah, we're super happy how it turned out. But again, learning curve in our mind. We thought if we get the artists and give them a deadline, we'll have the artwork in a month, and then 4 years later, we finally got it all done. And
so that's the next question. So let's put a timeline on this. How long did this project come to be? Are we talking Chinese democracy long, or
pretty much?
Yeah.
I mean, technically, from the point we thought of it, it was over a decade, right?
Okay.
When we actually started to formally work on it, it was about 4 years.
Wow.
And a big chunk of that time was just the artwork and getting the artists and things.
Yeah.
We're also we're the type of band that we won't do something for a long time, and then we'll do a whole bunch in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Right. And that was kind of like this too. We had been writing songs for years, right?
Yeah.
Like we'd be jamming on a tune, be like, hey, that'd be good for the Space album, put it aside. And then we finally sat down and wrote the Space album. And then like for recording, it was like, all right, we got to record. And then we just went in there and with Barrett Ross at Church Studios, and it was awesome. But the recording actually happened quite in these good condensed sessions.
Right.
When we could, right?
Yeah.
And in the comic, and again, because we went, and some artists were waiting for, and all of a sudden they just disappeared, and a couple artists like, I'll do another one, or we'd ask people, hey, do you want to do one more story?
Yeah.
You know, so some people took on more and more, and, you know, we made it work around the rest of our lives. But
if you could give like a Cole's Note version of the story of this comic book, how would you describe it?
Space Joe grows up as a Air Force Army brat who moves from town to town, doesn't have a lot of friends. He has a calling to go to the stars, but doesn't know why. This is a time where there's the United Global Galactic Pact, and it's like UGGP. Yeah.
Okay.
And they train people to do like space flights and space research. And one day he's just like, there's something out there. I don't know what it is. He steals a spaceship, goes to the moon, finds a secret moon base, and then adventures entail from there. Yeah, that's it.
Now, from when I read it, I heard a lot of things about trying to find your home. Like he's saying that a lot in the comic book. You know, I don't feel like I'm at home. I'm trying to find my home. Was that something that you've always felt and that you've kind of put into the story?
Well, for that story in particular, as a character, he never feels like he belongs. And then he finally goes to the moon and he thinks he found the group where he belongs,
right,
and then discovers he still doesn't feel like he belongs.
Right.
And so part of the whole story is him trying to navigate where he fits in the entire universe, which ends up having him go into the universal consciousness and going to the an alternate universe and meeting the anti-version of himself.
Right.
And right, so
what I was meaning is this are you writing this biographical? Is this something that you feel as well, or is this something you just wanted for the story?
Probably, yeah. I mean, at that time, there was whatever you're writing, whether it's songs or poetry or books, right? There's always traces of you in there.
Yeah.
And there are certain songs that I remember of things that were happening in my life that I wrote about those, right? Now, not specifically, like if you didn't know, if you're not in my head, you don't know what it's about.
Yeah.
It's between those two characters. But in my mind, that was about, oh, this was this situation.
Right.
That was this, right? And thinking about that, I guess, I was, working in a smaller town as a new teacher and trying to figure out sort of where I was in my life.
Yeah.
Which now that I'm in my mid 40s, somehow I'm still doing that. It's amazing how that never seems to go away. So probably, that's probably something that,
That's something I felt in the storytelling. And there was also the little bit of where he comes back, you're saying in the different timeline, and the moon base is gone kind of thing. So to me, that was like a coming home, but you're like, it's not your home anymore. Like that place in the corner is closed now. And like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of feeling.
Right. Yeah. Well, because when he comes back in the wrong time period.
Right.
And then he travels through time, and every time he stops, he teaches the next line of humanity what he knows.
Right.
So basically he becomes the bringer of all knowledge to planet Earth.
And there was a couple of really nice images at the end. I'm not too sure who did like the last section of the artwork, but it was very long column pictures, and it looked like one was maybe like a guy going to like a temple, and then maybe a guy I think there was a guy on a cross. Like it looked like that. I could be reading into that.
No, that's the very last one. It's the implication is that it's like the skull mount, and possibly Space Joe becomes Jesus and is eventually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the original version I had in my mind was way darker. I thought of having like Space Joe on the cross being crucified.
Whoa.
But then I thought maybe that was a little bit too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
But that was my original idea. To get the point across. But no, it was Casper, whose last name I can't think of right now off the top of my head.
It was
Konofsky, Casper Konofsky.
Very beautiful artwork.
He did the cover art as well.
Yeah. So I read it twice, and the first time I read it, I thought there were parts in the comic that were like comics, like in the sense of like when you read like old comic books, there would always be like this wacky story of a different guy. Because there's the one that's drawn very like 50s, 40s, like OG Superman style. And it looked like almost like a Flash Gordon.
Yes, that was Nathan Wall's story. Yeah,
and I was like, oh, so this is like a little side story. And I was like, oh no, he's just drawing it differently, kind of thing. So it was a really cool way just to kind of maybe a different way of seeing the story. Therefore, makes you think of the story differently. And it was very, very well thought of.
And that was the idea we're going for, was just having it be different perspectives. I would like to go back and do a more of a linear front, just like here's the actual full story front to back.
Yeah.
In a way that follows more of a traditional story style.
Okay.
Now, just because like when you think of Who, Tommy and Quadrophenia, but Tommy in particular, there's parts on the album that are the instrumental parts. Things are happening in the story, but you don't see them, you just hear them. Yeah. So in the comic, even, there are spots on the album, well, this happened in the music, but you don't see it in the comic. And so there's a few gaps and things that way. Okay. Which we knew going in could happen, having so many people working on it.
Right.
So I would like to do a more linear front to end, I don't know. Yeah. The new adventures of Space Joe or something.
And you mentioned that was kind of your intent on the beginning, was to have different artists and to have.
Yeah. And that was very much the style. Again, we were even less concerned, even though in my mind I knew all the plot points. We were less concerned how they came together. It was more, here's what I'm thinking of. Do with it what you will. So we're really happy with how it turned out in the end.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So the next step, of course, is to make this a feature film.
Yes.
That Brad Pitt isn't ripping off. You're gonna do your own.
I think that should be the press release.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt rips off Saskatoon Band.
Yeah.
Ultimate Power Duo.
Now, do you think you might have to wait a little bit? Like, do you think that the movie landscape, if you will, is like super saturated right now with comic book stuff, or do you think it's time for something? There's always room for that.
We are in an interesting mix right now. I would say because a lot of people are saying, okay, we've had enough with the comic book movies.
Right.
Let's stop. Right. The comic book movies, in my mind, are the westerns of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's for Westerns were the big thing for about 20 or 30 years,
Right.
and then they died off.
Right.
Comic book movies could very much become like that as well.
Yeah.
The difference is, and again, Marvel being the main movie people, they spent a lot of time with this big, long end game. They had a plan, right? Yeah. And they still continue to plan. And I think that for what they're doing, that was the difference. That's the advantage. They're thinking far enough ahead to make it work.
Yeah.
DC's just go back to standalone movies.
Yep.
They do that best, right?
Like, I'm looking forward to the new Joker coming out. Like, Joaquin Phoenix, I think, is going to do something really cool.
Yeah, it looks really interesting.
I watched the first trailer, but I've said I'm not watching any more. I find some trailers just like they just spell the movie for you kind of thing, right? And I really want to see on that one. But I think you're right that DC needs to go back to just doing like, here's a standalone this and a standalone. Stop trying to copy Marvel. You didn't start copying them early enough. You're not going to catch up.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
And to kind of steal a line that Kevin Smith has said, and I'll paraphrase because I can't remember exactly, but if I could go back in time and tell the 10-year-old version of me, hey, one day there's going to be a Ant-Man and the Wasp movie that people will like, and the Black Panther will be nominated for an Oscar. Like, what? No way. It's happening, right? So, I mean, as a comic fan, I can't help just wanting it to be successful and go as well as it can. Eventually it'll die off, so let's enjoy it while we have it.
In a perfect world, what would you like to see next?
For a
comic book movie. Like, if you could pull out the most obscure, storyline and or characters kind of thing.
In no particular order. Number one would be Stray Bullets by David Lapham.
Okay.
Stray Bullets is black and white crime comic. One of my favorite all-time comics to this day. If there's people that I know who like comics but don't know what to start with, they don't want superheroes, I'm like, get Stray Bullets.
Okay.
Issue 1, there's this weird kid. He's driving on the highway. Something's in his trunk. You don't know what's in the trunk. At the end of the story, it's revealed his mom's in the trunk. Issue 2, a small girl is being bullied at school. Like, wait, what happened to the guy with the trunk?
Whoa.
The first 3 issues, you have no idea what's going on. There are all these different side stories. And I think it's issue 2. This girl's being bullied. She finally stands up for herself. Halloween, she gets chased out in a field, and these kids beat her up, leave her there. End of issue 2. Issue 3. Like, what's going on? It's brilliant. It's great. If someone like Robert Rodriguez or Quentin Tarantino did a Stray Bullets movie, there are so many crazy arcing storylines and characters.
I think like even I would love to give him another chance. Josh Trank, he got kind of the Fantastic Four thing, whatever, but he did like that superhero one. Oh shoot, I can't think of the name of him right now. But anyways, he does very darker images sort of thing. I think he would be kind of cool for that.
Okay. I was going to say the Doom Patrol, but that's already out and it's awesome.
Okay.
If you haven't watched Doom Patrol, go check it out. Number 2, Creature Commandos.
Creature Commandos.
So one of my favorite comics from the late 70s up into the early 80s. Creature Commandos, World War II. Okay. And they're a special fighting force that help fight the Nazis. The catch is one of them is a vampire. One of them is a werewolf. One of them is Frankenstein.
Oh.
One of them is Medusa with like the snakes and everything. And later on, they had G.I. Robot, who was a robot. Like Snake Eyes, who couldn't talk, but he was really cool.
Yeah.
That would be a great movie as well. And maybe number 3, off the top of my head, without thinking too much, would be All-Star Squadron. So, so much to talk about.
Right?
So Justice Society of America eventually became Justice League, and then they had these 2 groups. And then for a while, DC had they had Earth 1 and Earth 2.
Okay.
I think Earth 1 was the present day Earth, and by present day, like the 80s.
Yeah.
And then Earth 2 was all the Golden Age and Silver Age heroes that still had their own lives. So Superman was married to Lois Lane, and he was going gray at the temple.
Oh, cool.
Catwoman still wore the purple outfit with the green collar.
Yeah.
Green Lantern wasn't Hal Jordan, it was Alan Scott. And it was a neat way that they could keep all these Justice Society of America heroes in stories, but have the Justice League be more modern. And the JSA became the All-Star Squadron, where basically they just took all the superheroes and said, hey, let's just make it one big, huge group, and then they could rotate from story to story. One of my favorite comics.
Gives you lots of options then too.
Right? And one of my favorite comics was All-Star Squadron number 50, I think, where most of the story is they have a roll call. They call a big meeting. They all show up. And Liberty Bell, a female leader of a superhero group, by the way, shows up
Very progressive.
and basically does roll call. And there's like about 8 pages. Well, I shouldn't say that, but there's definitely like more than one spread where they go through every hero.
Oh my God.
And some say here, some say hello. They have their own little comments. And then that's it. That's almost the whole story. And then Toyman breaks in. He brought in a box. Someone's carrying him. He's like, take care of this package. And Toyman is in there. And that was the whole story. I'm like, what? But I loved it, you know? And I think that'd be really cool because you could, now you might argue it would play into the Watchmen thing, but that's where the Watchmen came from, right? He wanted to do those old stories, but he couldn't get the rights to them. So he's like, fine, I'll do my own.
Make my own, yeah.
But I think it'd be neat if you had like original Green Lantern or Johnny Quick and like the original Flash with the tin helmet and the lightning bolts.
Lightning bolt.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. So
have you watched the Watchmen TV show yet?
I haven't. No. How is it?
I've heard mixed reviews. I think it's gonna be one of those ones where if you liked the Watchmen movie, you're gonna like the series. I think people are going into it being like, "Oh, is it like Avengers?" And it's like, "Well, no, it's something a little different." So it'll be something I think for maybe a little more specific audience.
Right. Yeah.
So coming back then to what you were talking about with, you know, the golden age of Westerns and that kind of ending. I was watching another review on Red Letter Media, is one of the YouTube channels I watched lots, and they were talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Tarantino's newest movie, and how that era of directors making actual movies with actual actors and actual stories is few and far between now. You know, they bring up the point of like in Avengers Endgame, or one of them, who knows what, they basically have all these storyboards out. Here's what the action's going to be. They haven't even written the script yet, but we know we want this guy punching that guy, and we need this little set piece or whatever kind of thing, and we'll build the story around it. And it's like that, I think, is overtaking actual movies, actual storylines, and, you know, actual directors with actual actors on sets and real sets. And, you know, that's the thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think it's like everything's real. Like those are real cars driving around. It's not green screen and blue screen and whatnot. And I just, do you think that era has ended and we are just like, well, that's done. We're now into the blue screen, green screen world?
I would argue it depends on what genre of movie you're looking into. Okay. I feel, I mean, yes, we're getting so much into CGI and effects and things now, right? Yeah. Almost everything is touched at some point. Yeah. But I feel like we're getting back into a bit of, I don't want to say backlash, but having directors that are, Ari Aster with Midsummer, right? Mm-hmm. Is this like, let's go and record in a big field and have actors there. I think there's always going to be that culture of like movie makers that are going to do it, right? If you're looking for the action movies things, they're going to computers all the way. Right. It would be kind of nice if maybe more people went back to practical stunts. And I think that's part of the reason I'm not an expert in this, but hey, I'll say it anyway. Like the John Wick series, right? Like John Wick 3, I saw that recently. Yeah. And it's really good. And there's a lot of fight scenes that you're like, hey, there's people fighting. Yeah. And it's oddly
actually landed.
It's oddly refreshing. They just threw Keanu Reeves through something that looks like glass and it broke like 5 times in a row.
That's awesome.
And it's interesting though how fresh that seems by doing it more practically than having it be all CGI. So
I think at a certain point with all the CGI, like you almost start to glass over. Like you just start to like be like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. Yeah. Like it's just, you know.
And one thing to either the credit or detriment to Marvel, depending how you look at it. One of the things I've heard is that people say with the Marvel movies, well, they all look the same. Right. There's that style. But I would kind of argue that's what they're going for.
Yeah, they have that preset color. It's like, you know, your filter, you know, you put on top of all your movies kind of thing. Yeah. It works for them, so they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, so but again, if you're going to a Marvel movie, you should expect to know what you're getting into. You know what I mean? Like, I think at this point, you know, like, why not? There could be worse things to spend 3 hours on, right?
So when you do make your Space Joe movie, who would you want to write and who would you want to direct? And it can be both if you want.
It could be, okay. I would love to, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would like to have a chance to write it myself.
Fair enough.
You know, like sit down and see if I could actually do a screenplay. Yep. I would love to work with Kevin Smith.
Interesting.
You know, so good dialogue heavy person.
You're a big Tusk fan, are you? Yeah.
I like Tusk, actually. I did. And I tried to watch it again on Netflix and they took it down. I'm like, I should probably order it, I guess. Yeah. Haven't seen Yoga Hosers yet, though. So I'll save that opinion for later.
Fair. Okay, Kevin Smith. Okay.
And then for directors, I mean, like just because I mentioned him, like Quentin Tarantino,
Yeah.
right? One of my faves.
Yeah.
Depending on the style of it. Who else? Ooh, directors.
Ari Aster sounds like a cool
Ari
idea
Aster,
too.
he'd be really cool.
Hereditary was. I am still affected by that movie.
Yeah, I loved Hereditary.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I don't know, maybe even Sam Raimi. He hasn't been that busy. I wonder if he'd come back.
He likes like kind of like really kind of punk rock style, shoot and go kind of thing. You know, not a lot of crazy effects. I mean, Spider-Man ones, granted, but like, you look at the Evil Dead movies. I mean, they are
right.
That's just some rubber puppets, kind of thing. Like he likes the practical stuff. So that could be kind of interesting.
Or even better, just we'll send an all call out and say, send us your best 2-minute reel. Yeah. And just find that new up and comer that no one's heard. There you go. We heard it here first. If you're a director that wants to pitch for the Space Joe movie yet to be started, you can be first in line. To be determined. I like that. Yeah.
So we've talked about the comic books, and now we talked about Power Duo. So also you are on CFCR.
Yes, I am.
And what is that all about?
I'm doing a show right now called Punch Radio with the crew who does Punch TV. So it's Jody Comic Kazan. We don't call her that. I just thought that right now. Right. Jody Kazan and Tony the toy collector from Amazing Stories.
Oh, very cool.
And then Kathy, who does their camera work. That was me doing hand motion of a camera. Yeah. For listeners who couldn't see it, I couldn't think of the word camera, and so I put my hand up to my face like I was filming something. Yeah. And then Craig Silliphant and Hank Cruz do movies and things, and so I'm part of that crew. So when Theo and Pat from the Comic Chats retired from doing that show, just because Pat sold 8th Street Books, and he's just like, I need a break from comics for a while. That's fair. They had this half-hour slot come open, and they approached Jody if she would want to do a radio show, and she asked me to be part of it. So we're more of a fandom. We don't do just comics. It's like pop culture fan things we want to talk about. Yeah. And just by default, because I know like Jody will bring comics and Tony brings toys, and so I've been focusing more on music. So I've been talking about comics and music that relate to each other, because I like that thing apparently, music and comics. And
I couldn't tell. But
our last episode, I did a 2-part series where I talked about the Batman soundtracks. So I go into a deep dive and kind of like why they're important and which ones are good and which ones aren't so good.
Versus,
I start right back from 1966 with the Neil Hefti ones, right up to the last one, the Hans Zimmer Dark Knight Returns soundtracks.
Oh, the boss.
I love The Dark Knight is probably my favorite of all the soundtracks as a listening experience. Okay. Mask of the Phantasm is my favorite one to listen to, like just to put on and enjoy it. Oh, such a great movie too. It's probably my fave.
Should watch that again.
And it's interesting I mentioned that. I just found out this morning, breaking news. Actually, I'm not sure when this is coming out. As of today, right now, sitting here, this same day, this morning, I received an email that my pitch for the Sask Expo to do an hour-long seminar on the Batman soundtracks was accepted.
Excellent.
So if you're listening to the Sask Expo, if you see the program, there's one panel called Holy Batuzi. Wow. The musical side of Batman. Really? That'll be myself and Jody and Hank, and we'll be talking about Batman soundtracks.
That's insane, man.
So
which day are you going to be at the Sask Expo?
I don't know yet, actually. I believe it's the 14th and 15th of September. Okay. Someone with a Google machine can fact check.
Have you heard of anyone else is coming? Or Lou Ferrigno, I imagine? He comes to everything?
He was there last year. Yes. No, last year when we did our Dramian Comics panel and premiered our independent comic book company, our panel was at the same time as Lou Ferrigno's panel.
That's so cool.
Lou had the crowd and we didn't.
So have you heard of anybody who actually is coming?
Billy D. Williams, I know, is coming this year. So
he's in the new one, right? The last Rise of the Last Skywalkers? No.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker?
Okay. I've heard, he's going to be in that. So that'll be.
It's going to resurgence cool. Now. It's going to be the second coming of
the Renaissance of Billy D. Williams.
Yeah,
it'll be good. So no, it's always a great event. So it'll be good to check out. So
that's at Prairieland?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then so once you know what day you're on, do you have like I got to start doing like your plugs now. Do you have like an Instagram and a Twitter and all that fun stuff that people can check out what's going on with you and stuff?
I do. If you go to Twitter, I'm just at The Riz, at Riz Muttering. Right. The Riz is my band name. So on Facebook, Ultimate Power Duo, Dramian Comics. We should probably talk about my comic business as well.
Let's do it.
And as well as DramianComics.com. We're also on Twitter. We just got Instagram because every podcast I do about the comic website, they say, "Oh, do you have Instagram yet?" I'm like,
I know.
But apparently it's fun? ?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like one more thing that I didn't want to add to my life, but everyone says I should do it.
It's like Snapchat now. Apparently, it's the new big fucking whatever. Everyone's on that one too. So
yeah. So
I got to get on that apparently too next. So plug your comic book company.
Yes, drawmeincomics.com.
And how did this start?
It actually goes back. See, now check out this full circle action happening here. When we were looking for artists to do the comic for the first comic we did, we didn't know how to find artists. And so we kept saying there should be a way that artists and writers can connect together to create new comics. And so this is in the back of our head.
Like a web, like an interweb of connections.
Exactly. Like the Facebook of comics.
Whoa.
And so we started going to some meetings at the university through Collab, and they have a group called Co-Launch where people meet together and they pitch ideas and talk about their thing. And we just kind of showed up, two punk rock kids. Yeah. And they go around the room. So what are you working on? And the first guy was like, I'm developing 3D printing to help with ocular cancer, and the next guy's like, I just developed a way to make it easier for farmers to measure their grain using blah, blah. And they get to us and we're like, we want to sell comics. And everyone's like, cool.
That bastard raised the bar way too fast.
Pretty much. But that was the idea. And so then we started talking with people and hashing ideas. How can we make this work? And then we started this company called drawmeincomics.com where independent comic book creators can post their works for free. It's free to join. And writers can post ideas for scripts.
Okay.
So if I'm a writer, this is my idea. This is the page count I want to work on. I'm looking for someone that can do this kind of style. If you like it and you're part of the website, you click, I want to work with you. And then you can email each other back and forth and work through our site to make this project.
Excellent.
We're working on getting instant messaging up, like chat. So you can just chat live online. And the other part of it that is different for us is we have our own currency packages. We call them super coins.
Okay.
And we take a percentage of that sale so the artists get to keep the money they make on the website.
Excellent.
So coming from like the alternative rock, punk rock, DIY world, you know what it's like when you put your sweat equity into your money, your heart into it, and you take it to the record store and they sell it finally for $3 and they keep like $2 or whatever, 30%, whatever it is, which is fine. They're used to commissions. But we thought, well, with Kickstarter and people doing GoFundMe pages and all these things, you can be an instant investor in a project that's already done. So if you sell your comic for $3, you get to keep that $3 because we took it from the front end from the customer.
Interesting.
Which when we did our market research, a lot of people were like, yeah, that's something we would be into supporting artists that way. So,
and how long has this been going for, this website?
Our year anniversary is coming up.
Oh.
So last year at Sask Expo, we did the grand unveil of the website, and our tech guy showed up and he said, all right, I spent the last 14 hours working on this, and we turned it on like pretty much to a live studio audience. Yeah. We had 2 comics up there. No, 1, which was our comic.
Okay.
Just to show how it worked. Yeah. And, but now we have, I think about 40 or 50 titles up there right now.
It's amazing.
And,
from all over the place. There's this Canada only.
All over. It's funny because people say, oh, we have all the Saskatoon comic. Actually, not many. It's Australia and England. We have people in England for some reason, which is great. Thank you, England.
Yeah.
But we really want to reach out and get more and more people on there.
Okay.
And we realize you can post on Comixology and drive through comics and things. But if you're on Comixology, again, huge site, they also support like DC and Marvel and everything else.
Right. So you can kind of get buried in there.
Right. And like I've gone looking for indie comics and you have to click here and scroll down there. Whereas we have indie comics. If you're looking for what's new and cool in indie comics, come check us out. Right. We're also going to be talking about working on doing our own like monthly comic through the website ourselves, where I'll be writing some scripts and doing some short stories and things. I have a blog I started where I'll be interviewing people that are doing comics and post it like that. And
that's excellent.
Just make it like a cool community of cool comic kids that like that
people help people, man.
Right. And again, I mean, you've played in a band or 2 in your time, and you've made a CD or 2 in your time.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like when you put all this work into it, and then it just gets buried with a lot of other in bigger stores, right?
Exactly.
And I'm not being. Please don't think that I'm being like, oh, big stores.
Yeah.
Well, no, because people have to
buy
your
business.
stuff.
We understand it.
Right. But why not have the cool boutique shop of indie comics? And that's kind of what we're going for. So.
You're like the schmata of comic books.
There we go. Yeah. Hey, good local reference there. Good, well done.
That's right. Okay, let's come back around. So what's next then for Ultimate Power Duo?
We are currently working on the next Space Joe record called Duophenia Space Joe 2.
Okay.
My little nod to Quadrophenia.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
See, thank you. And this is going to be not a continuation of the last story, but more like a fleshing out of the universe.
Okay.
So our last record was like 20 tracks, kind of big sprawling concept. Everything we want to do in an album, we threw in there, right? Yeah. This next one's going to be a little more tighter, like musically, a bit more punchier. Okay. 13 tracks, but every track is going to be about a side character that you meet in the first comic, but don't learn much about.
Gotcha.
And now they'll get a chance to shine in their own 4
right,
or 5
there's that
story.
whole training little section there with all the different. There's the guy who gets all the girls. I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah.
And then there's the tough girl. Gotta have her. And there's some big guy.
Yeah, Lexi Livingston, Private Corrington. Yeah.
So we're gonna learn all about them.
Yes. So in different ways. So some of them it'll be just an adventure they were on. For some of them, it's how they joined the UGGP. Yeah. Some of them is just like the Corrington story. He's a real card and just likes to talk. And his story is him playing poker and talking about the time that he met an actor whose name I can't think of right now. When I'm driving home, it'll come to me. But in his version of the world, there's Reed Fleming, the world's toughest milkman, which was an amazing black and white comic from a Vancouver artist who sold the rights to Reed Fleming's The World's Toughest Milkman to make it a movie, and it got buried.
Oh, no.
And he gave up his rights because he didn't know any better. Yeah. And somewhere a script exists because people have read it. And there's a really good documentary that I also can't think of the name right now. And people are talking about this script. And the actor, whose name I can't think of right now, he's on The Usual Suspects. He's the mechanic guy. That guy. If you saw him, you'd be like, oh yeah, that guy.
Okay. Yeah.
And he even says that he would do anything to play this part. Like he actually saw the script. So in my version of the universe, this movie came out and won Oscars. Like it was like the Black Panther of his time.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he's basically telling the story of when he met that actor.
That's so cool.
So they're all from different perspectives and different timelines, but it's just to help give a universe feel to it, right?
Yeah.
Like
make it feel real, make it feel lived in.
Right. Like whether you like Star Wars or not, every character has a name and some kind of backstory. You could, even when they made the action figures for Star Wars,
right?
Like every character had, that guy was on the screen for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, but on the back of the packaging is like, he's the father of so and so from this lost planet, and
right, exactly. Which I love that type of thing. Yeah. So Duophenia 2 will be sort of diving into the other characters that you don't get to know much of. So
awesome. And then band wise, are you guys playing more? Or are you guys any shows coming up? Or
you know what? A lot happened today, actually, because we were talking about kind of getting back into a regular rotation and playing again.
Okay.
So on October 19th or 17th, let's say 19th.
Sure.
That was my first instinct.
Yeah.
At Amigos Cantina, they're having a gala for a charity called Books for Crooks.
Okay.
Where they take book donations and have them sent out to various penitentiaries and things here in Saskatoon.
Oh, okay.
Their goal, their first year, I believe, was to donate 750 books.
Okay.
Right now, they're up to 8,000.
Wow.
So they're doing a lot of really good work.
Excellent.
And they're doing a charity gala, and they've asked us to play. So that will be our first show probably in about 2 years. So
that's excellent, man.
Yeah, so come check it out.
Definitely will, man.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So the new comic, I'm doing all the writing for all the scripts this time, and we're having Donnie Sparrow doing all the artwork.
Okay.
Just so it's a bit more cohesive.
You're gonna have one artist this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even though the story is still jumping around,
yep.
At least that element of it will be more of the same.
Right.
And partly too because I'm a writer and I like to write. And the first time I was a little bit hesitant to do a comic script just because I hadn't really done them before.
Right.
But then as more and more writers or more and more artists asked for it, I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so this time I wanted to make it just more kind of clear in my head. This is what here's my mind.
Yes.
On a page.
On paper. Yeah.
I can't draw it.
Yeah.
But those are my words. So figure it out.
So would you consider then maybe this Space Joe to be more geared toward like an episodic TV show then more than a movie?
If anyone out there is listening from either Hulu or Netflix or Amazon Prime,
I'm thinking that because I think today there's 13 new streaming sites and tomorrow there'll be 15 more kind of thing. Like, I feel like that's where we're going.
And they are looking for IP. They're looking for things new. Yeah. I think you're right. Like, this would be perfect for some kind of episodic series.
Yeah.
And I mean, not just because we have a lot of characters, because we do, but there's so much you can do with it. With again, different timelines. You have time travel or space.
Yeah.
But see, I like smaller stories, right? So even like with my sci-fi. our story is very sprawling and epic, but when I think of every story, I think of it taking place in one room.
Yeah.
I like the smaller scenes that become bigger episodes.
That's why I like to think the original X-Files, because it was about, this big giant conspiracy, but all the stories felt small. Like, it was all very, it's just these two characters and, a couple side characters here and there, but like it never felt like every show was a J.J. Abrams massive epic kind of thing.
Yeah. I love my Star Wars as a kid.
Okay.
But like getting older, things like Blade Runner, where it looks a lot like present day, but things are weird. Like, there's holograms, there's little things that fly around, but it still has a feeling like it's based closer to reality.
Because it was 2049 Blade Runner?
Oh, that was the new one. I didn't see that one.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking.
I'm trying to think what year that one was into. I can't remember what year. Blade Runner takes place like.
Oh yeah. I can't remember. Yeah. Something like that.
It's like in 1998, the future. I think that's Demolition Man, actually.
I think you're right, actually. But that's the kind of sci-fi I like, right? And so, like my horror movies. The smaller it is, the more I like it. I love the first Saw movie.
James Wan, yeah.
And I think partly because so much of it is the two characters stuck in one room. Yep. You could take that and turn it into a play, which I think would be
interesting.
Dope. That's actually a pet project.
Oh yeah,
I haven't, but in my mind, like how cool, like for the Fringe or something.
Yeah,
how cool that be.
Saw the play TM.
Yeah, there you go.
So we were kind of mentioning about the cinematic of it, like looking bigger, and I think that's why I think people try to think more about everything has to be a movie, has to be on the big screen. But I think nowadays, you can get a 80-inch LED, LCD, whatever TV, nowadays you can get the most epic surround sound kind of thing. I think the need to go to these big theaters is kind of changing to that. Yeah. Like, do you like going to movies, or like, would you rather, I've heard this question a couple times, would you pay $50 to see the movie, the new release at home?
No.
Okay. And why not?
So watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Mm-hmm. Part of the story that stuck out to me is how...
you have seen it?
Twice, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Opening night and then on Sunday.
Awesome. Okay.
Is people would go to a movie, and that was a thing that you did. Even when you sat and watched TV, you know that people are watching the same show because there weren't that many channels.
Okay.
There's a scene in the movie where the producer calls someone up and says, hey, turn to this channel.
Yeah.
Your next star is on TV right now.
Right.
And I love the social aspect for it.
Okay.
If I'm going to watch a movie by myself, I'd rather go to the theater by myself and watch it than sit at home by myself and watch it. Maybe it's my own mental thing.
No, my wife's the same way. Like I brought the question to her too, and she's an introvert, and so I was very surprised. But she likes the aspect of it where we're going to go see a movie, so we're going to dress up, we're going to go for supper, we're going to go see it or eat there, whatever kind of thing. It's going to be a thing. It's going to be an event kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the social part is nice too, because the days of you just going to people's houses and stuff is not really anymore.
Right.
I feel like we're always on our... I no point in my saying I'm not like this, but we're all on our devices all the time. Yeah. That's all we do, right? And I think, going to the theater is a nice way to get out and see people kind of thing.
Yeah. Like even there's some shows, like The Preacher came out. I've been enjoying that. The Boys is out right now. Another really
I've heard good things about that.
I haven't watched it yet because I don't have whatever it's on.
Yeah.
But even then, I would actually rather call people over and be like, hey, let's come over and watch this together.
Yeah.
Right. But for an actual movie, I still like looking it up, going in there and having that experience.
Okay.
Like I would almost see rather, like if they had like Netflix theaters, where like all day we're going to binge watch
The Office.
Yeah. I would actually rather go do that. I'd rather sit there with a bunch of people I don't know and just have it as one big experience.
That's really cool. So that's going to be your next project, is making a Netflix theater.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we'll start with the Space Joe.
The Space Joe
season 1.
Season 1.
Hey, there you go. I
awesome.
like that.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is great.
And if anyone has any other questions, we're going to plug it one more time. Your tags and stuff are?
So drawmeoncomics.com is the website. Draw Me On Comics on Facebook. Draw Me On Comics on Twitter. I'm the Riz. I'm the Riz on Twitter. Draw Me On Comics on Instagram.
There it is.
Brennan Risling on Facebook.
Yeah. Any questions, comic book related or otherwise, check them out on Facebook. Also, go check out Ultimate Power Duo.
UltimatePowerDuo.com.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Probably one of the best live bands I've ever seen. I'm not just saying that. If you haven't seen a band play a song and then mute their music during the song and then come back in and play. It is the coolest damn thing in the world.
Oh, I'm glad you like it. And Bad Religion liked it too.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite. I'm going to tack on an extra minute here.
Yeah, man.
This story needs to be on tape somewhere. We opened for Bad Religion years ago, and we played the Cone of Silence. For those who haven't seen it, it's based on the Get Smart TV show, and the Cone of Silence never works.
Yeah.
And so in the song, the first verse we sing, and the choruses we turn our instruments off and we keep singing, but there's no sound happening.
Yeah, the air drum, the air play, the air sing. It's so fucking cool.
It's pretty clever.
Yeah.
We do what we can.
Yeah.
And again, this is before I had a cool cell phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bad Religion was like doing the usual, like, hey, Saskatoon, thanks for coming, and getting the whole crowd to cheer. And what about the opening bands? And he's like, Ultimate Power Duo, and everyone like, yeah, because you know. And the bass player says, "The Cone of Silence is the greatest live song ever written."
Boom.
And I was like, what? And then he turns to the guitar player and goes, have you ever seen something like that before? And he's like, no, man. And I was like, is this happening?
This is happening.
And then we saw them at Warped Tour.
Yeah.
We went and bugged him on their bus, and we used to keep in touch. And he's like, hey, if you're not busy, you should come tour with us in Australia for a month.
And then?
I was like, I have to go back to school.
Oh, no. Stupid life getting in the way.
Well, in hindsight, yeah. And then, anyway. And then they were in town, and we used to have their contact info, and we lost it. I was going to bug them, and I felt bad.
They're still touring, man. They were here, what, a month ago?
I was there. It was a really good show, yeah. So, but we hadn't played for a while. So next time they come, we'll see if we can get that show, and
damn right.
We'll change their minds. We'll change their lives again. So there you go.
We'll get you backstage.
Awesome.
Thanks again, Brennan.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right.